You get to the book of Revelation, you're treated to a visit to the throne room of the universe. And one of the prominent features of that you discover in Revelation chapter 4 and following. It says, and around about the throne, that is the throne, were 24 thrones or seats. And upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment. And they had on their heads crowns of gold. Now, as we undertake the book of Revelation, we know that the book of Revelation has 404 verses that include over 800 allusions from the Old Testament alone. Every one of these elements are amplified or explained somewhere else in the Scripture. The reason the book of Revelation seems so strange to our ears is because we haven't done our homework in the Old Testament. Well, where on earth do we find 24 elders? There's many commentators conjecture, gee, we've got 12 tribes and 12 apostles. 12 and 12 make 24. Well, that sounds fine, but give me an example where that applies to Scripture. No, the only place you find 24 elders or 24 seniors sitting or impaneled is in the priesthood. But don't confuse it. We're talking Levitical priesthood. That's just a model. These are not Levitical priests. What are they? They'll identify themselves. The word, by the way, for those seats are also thrones. We're going to discover as they talk, they aren't just sitting there as observers. They are, in some respects, ruling. They're assigned to these seats as kings or judges. Okay. And notice on their heads they have crowns of gold. Okay. 24 elders. David divides the priesthood into 24 courses in 1 Chronicles 24. By the way, there were non-Levitical priesthoods in the Old Testament. This shocks many people. Jethro was a priest of Midian. He wasn't a Levite. What kind of priest was he? We don't know. Jacob gave tithes in Genesis 28. I'd love to know to whom. We don't know much about that. In Genesis 14, we have a very interesting guy show up by the name of Melchizedek. Just a couple verses, and he would disappear into obscurity except for the fact that Psalm 110 makes an allusion to him that Jesus Christ will be a priest after the order of Melchizedek, not after the order of Aaron or Levitical. Hebrews chapter 5 and chapter 6 and chapter 7, hammers away for 3 chapters, dwells on this fact that the Melchizedekan priesthood was a king and a priest. He's the only one that was a king and a priest. The Levitical Israel was divided. The priests were Levites, the rulers were Judah. They're not to cross. But the Messiah is both. Not after Levi, but after Melchizedek. So who are the 24 elders? What do they represent in the book of Revelation? Well, from 1 Chronicles 24, we're going to presume that they represent, in some sense, a completed group somehow. They're the leadership of some kind of segment here. What we know they cannot be is they cannot be tribulation believers. Some people say, well, they're believers from the tribulation. No, we'll see in Revelation 7, not so. Because in Revelation 7 it says, one of the elders answered saying to me, what are these which are arrayed in white robes, and whence came they? And I said, sir, you know. He said to me, these are they which came out of the great tribulation and have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. In other words, one of the 24 elders is explaining to John who those tribulation saints are. So they're not tribulation saints is the point. Okay. See, one of the elders answered. Well, something else they can't be angels. Well, they're a bunch of angels. No, they're not. Because in Revelation 7, verse 11, it says, all the angels stood round about the throne and about the elders and the 4 beasts, the 4 living creatures that fell before the throne. So they're distinct from them. All the angels. So it can't be angels. Can they be the nation Israel? No. Whole chapter 7 deals with that, chapter 7 and 12. What are the distinguishing characteristics of the 24 elders? They're sitting on thrones, Revelation 3:21. They have white raiment, so they're righteous. They have crowns of gold, and that's mentioned in Revelation 2 and 3 as well as 4 and 5. They sing the song of the redeemed. We're going to look at that in a minute in chapter 5. And they're called elders, and they're also called kings and priests. Very key thing. There's only 3 groups of people that are kings and priests. Melchizedek was, Jesus Christ is, and we will be. In Revelation chapter 5, came forth and took the book out of the right hand of him who sat on the throne. And when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of the saints. They sung a new song, saying, Thou art worthy to take the book, and to open the seals thereof, for thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to God by thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation, and have made us unto our God kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth. I want you to notice something. First person plural. Thou hast redeemed us. These are the redeemed. How have they been redeemed? By thy blood. Out of what group? Out of every kindred, tongue, and people and nation. And has made us unto our God kings and priests. And we shall reign on the earth. That's what these elders are singing. The 24 elders. Who are they? I think you can when you study this, make a clear case, they represent us, the redeemed. Now, if that's true, there's something very important to understand. The tribulation, the great tribulation, is when the seals get opened, and that starts the 7. You got the 7 seals, you got the 7 trumpets, all that starts, chapter 6 on. The tribulation doesn't start until the book is opened. The book isn't opened until the Lamb receives the book. And when he receives the book, the redeemed are casting their crowns on the glassy sea. So the redeemed are in heaven before the tribulation starts. Very simple thing, very fundamental. There's a lot more to prove that, but the lampstands of fire that were in chapter 1 were on the earth in chapter 2 and 3 are in heaven in chapter 4, and so on. I encourage you to study the book of Revelation on your own and come to your conclusions.